Senator Shoebridge.
Thanks very much, Chair. Ms Hansford, I was asking you questions earlier about the negotiations between Australia and the US on Trump's enhanced border security protocols. Obviously, one of the key questions Australians are asking is if the Albanese government negotiates an agreement with Donald Trump to hand over our data, who in the US is going to get access to the data? Now, did Home Affairs press the United States and get some answers about what would actually happen to Australia's data once it was handed over to the US? Who would have access?
That is one of the issues that we have raised, not only with the United States but with other countries around the world, to determine how they are approaching the requirement that the US has announced. I think I've checked with my team in the intervening period, and I think a point that is different from Australia compared with other countries, some of the requirements for entry into the scheme, we start from a different position comparative to other countries. Because if you look at some of the requirements under the visa waiver program already, the US are looking at the complexion of a nation, how many people are coming to the United States who have a refusal rate, what that rate is, whether or not countries accept the repatriation of citizens, whether or not they have a lost and stolen passport regime, if you have biometric identifiers, how you manage your own borders. All of those elements are taken into account by the United States. And so I'd say Australia starts from a different position from other countries. And America has said that we are broadly compliant with the existing regime, and they have flagged specifically 2 areas for us that they are looking to come to some sort of agreement with us on, and that relates to criminal history and biometrics.
All right. Now, I was asking you what will happen with Australia's biometric data if it's handed over to the Trump administration under this arrangement. Has Home Affairs made those basic inquiries of the United States? What they will do with it? How long they will hold it? Will they destroy it? Are those questions been asked, and are there any answers?
That is part of our discussions. We have not concluded our discussions.
Did you ask the United States to what extent that data is going to be fed into Palantir's software? We know that Palantir is, I think, the principal provider of core IT architecture to ICE, to the US immigration system. I think it's their Immigration OS platform. Have you asked whether or not Australians' data would be entered into the Palantir software architecture held by ICE?
Senator, I'm not aware of that level of detail, but they're all of the issues that, of course, the Australian government would be considering in discussions with the United States.
Minister, does the Labor government have any concerns about Australia's biometric data finding its way into the hands of Palantir? I mean, is that something your government would want to resist and stop?
Well, I think you can tell from what Mr Hansford has said that all of these issues are matters that our government is taking into account in these discussions.
Well, but your government has entered into multiple contracts with Palantir, giving them access to our defence data, giving them access to the Australian Signals Directorate. Should the Australian public believe that you're going to protect Australia's data from going to Palantir through this regime?
Well, again, Mr Hansford has outlined the types of issues that are under discussion at the moment, and I think you can read into that they are the types of issues that are of concern to the Australian government.
Well, but I'm asking you. You're the minister there. You'd set the policy parameters. As I said, just let me finish.
I'm representing the minister, but B, I'm not going to give you a personal opinion. What I'm reflecting to you is the position of the government and the types of issues that we are considering.
Well, your government has entered into multi-million-dollar contracts with Palantir, a company whose principal shareholder is a far-right US sort of almost fascist billionaire. You've entered into multi-million-dollar contracts with Palantir in defence, for the Signals Directorate. I'm asking you whether or not your government, the Albanese Labor government, has a policy position that Australia's biometric data shouldn't be handed to Palantir through this EB Enhanced Border Security Program. Do you have a policy position on that?
I am not aware of a policy position. If the officials are aware of one, they're free to say so. However, again, I reiterate that Mr Hansford has indicated the types of issues that are under consideration, and you can read into that the Australian government is keen to ensure the right settings on those issues.
Well, is there such a policy setting, Secretary, to prevent Australia's data finding its way to Palantir through this system?
So, Senator, we haven't yet put advice to government on these issues because we're still discussing them.
All right. Minister, there's a growing sense of concern amongst the Australian public about the reach of these far-right big tech companies from the United States. You could name Anduril, you could name Palantir, but I think Palantir is pretty much right up there. Some of these big tech companies that your government is contracting with are publishing far-right political manifestos online, saying they basically want to become a tool of the US military, a culture war for the United States, and you're entering multi-million-dollar contracts with them. Do you not have a policy position to protect Australians from the reach of those kind of companies?
Well, I think the Secretary has already outlined that policy development is occurring.
No, the Secretary said there is no policy. They're looking to get a brief to you.
Senator,
that's exactly what I just said in another way.
I'm not asking what the Secretary's position is as a bureaucrat. I'm asking about what the government's political position is.
The Secretary has outlined that work is underway.
Mm. And Senator, I was referring specifically to the discussions around the US visa waiver program when I said we had not yet put a position to the Minister.
You're not developing, Home Affairs isn't developing a general policy about whether, global big tech bottom feeders like Palantir can get access to Australian data. You're only looking at it through this narrow program. That's what I understood your answer to be, Ms Foster.
What I was just clarifying was that when I said our discussions are not yet at a stage that we have put policy advice to the Minister, I was referring to your specific line of questioning around the US visa program.
I'm going to go on to a different point now, which is I've asked before whether or not Home Affairs tracks the number of Australian citizens going to fight for the Israeli Defence Force. And in the few months following October the 7th, 2023, some Border Force, some Home Affairs officers asked some questions, and there was a small amount of data gathered. Do you remember that?
I do, Senator, and my recollection, we've tried to facilitate cross-outcome answers where there's a specific issue, like Bondi or whatever, but I think those answers are normally given in outcome 3 when the whole Border Force team is here.
All right, so, but will there not only be the Border Force team, will all the relevant Home Affairs officials be here as well?
What is the line of your questioning, Senator?
Well, to what extent Home Affairs and or Border Force, as part of Home Affairs, tracks or retains information about Australians serving in foreign militaries?
That is an issue for Border Force, Senator, so those officers will be available in outcome 3.
Is this the place to get some details, the extent to which Home Affairs, which I understand runs all the finances for the anti-Semitism Envoy, is this the point at which we get some answers about the travel expenses?
Senator, normally we would deal with travel expenses in the cross-portfolio section at the start. We do have, though, in outcome 2, the team that supports the Special Envoy appearing, and so...
So that's outcome 2?
If I can get the appropriate information together, that might be the best place to ask those questions.
I asked you some questions in the cross-portfolio about the FOIs in relation to travel.
Yep.
Part of what those FOIs were seeking was the cost of travel, broken down by accommodation, air travel, living expenses, and also broken down by country. That's the kind of information we're seeking. Also just some basic information about how many overseas trips the Envoy has taken, which staff travelled with her, what the breakdown of costs were.
Senator, let me take on notice where the best place to do that is. I'll talk to the team in the break.
Yeah, and I think you might also realise some of the questions are about the extent to which the FOI suggests that the Special Envoy's personal business dealings were caught up in the travel, and the extent to which the travel was for the Special Envoy's personal business or not.
Yeah, and so, Senator, normally having taken those questions on notice in the appropriate outcome, in this case crops portfolio, I would be providing those answers on notice.
My questions in cross portfolio were largely about the FOIs, if you recall, your involvement with the FOIs and the response to the FOIs. My questions here are the substantive questions about numbers.
Sure, I mean, Senator, I think you flagged them earlier and we said that we would look at those, so let me work out how we can deal with them.
If you remember, I was asking about your involvement in the FOIs. You said that you were aware of them, circumstances in which you were aware of them. That was about the FOIs and outcomes. I'm now asking the substantive questions.
I think what the Secretary is saying, Senator, is that the place to then ask the substantive questions about the things that you raised in the FOIs is also cross-portfolio, but she's going to see what she can do in outcome 2 is what I understood that she said.
Well, I think you said the staff supporting the Envoy will be here in outcome 2.
That's true, Senator, but the topics belong to cross-portfolio. The Chair has interpreted me correctly. Those questions we should have dealt with in cross-portfolio. I will see if we can deal with them in outcome 2 and I will let you know through the Chair.
All right. I have another set of questions.
Is now a good time to...
Now is a convenient time, if that helps, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Dilliam.